Hey guys, so everyone keeps asking me why I don't play BDO anymore. I'm going to tell you there are a lot of reasons why, but the main reason has to be the absolute cash grab garbage this game has as a baseline. What do I mean by this? Well, if you're familiar with horse training at all, and you probably are if you're watching this, then you've probably got a good idea of what I'm talking about. So horses, by default, are set up like this. Females have one breed and males have two breeds, meaning this is the amount of times you can breed them with another horse. If you want to get more breeds, you must buy a female breed reset token for approximately $6.40, depending on how many pearls you buy in bulk. And this gives you just one extra breed for your female horse. For about $3.20, you can buy a male reset token, which will give you two extra breeds. In my vast experience with horse breeding, males seem to have a statistically better chance of being born. So what ends up happening is that without buying these reset tokens and getting more breeds, your whole line will just die out. This happened to me when I came back about a year ago and decided not to spend as much money on it as I had in the past. When I first started horse training, I threw an ungodly amount of money at it, a sickening amount, and I vowed I would not do it again. I'm telling myself, you don't actually need to keep buying breed resets, it just helps a lot and makes you feel like you're getting more for your time spent leveling the horses. Well, that was a load of, horse poop, because it wasn't true. I ran through my gigantic stable of horses within a month, and had literally one female left to breed with, and so many males. I could not continue my line. Before this happened, though, in an attempt to make some extra money, I worked on making some coursers. Selling courser breeds can be profitable for the most part, and when you're done, if you're really desperate, you can just sell the courser too. I wasn't playing the main game much because I didn't have the time to just sit around grinding mobs, and it didn't seem to be much money in the first place. Figuring I had a lot of experience making coursers and picking the best horses to go with, I decided I'd make some extra money this way. I also had a lot of people asking me about the nuances of the 4-chop method and what the actual price tag was like on trying for a courser. I thought, hey, why not make a video while I'm at it and show people that you can get a courser for pretty cheap if you do it right. The first one I tried after this went super quick. I got him to courser with just 10 skill change coupons, costing about $25. To be honest, while this was really cheap, all of my coursers have been pretty cheap in the $30 to $40 range. I figured this was the norm. But I've heard horror stories in the comments of my videos about fail stacks going into the 40 plus range. When you stop to consider this, it's rather insane. Skill change coupons are not cheap. They cost approximately $2.27 a piece if you're buying the 11 pack, and $2.50 a piece otherwise. If you're using up that many fail stacks on a single skill, that's like $90. I had never had it happen to me. The highest fail stack I had ever gotten to was 23, making the most expensive courser around $60, when you consider that you use some along the way with the 4-chop method as well. But I was all about finding the ways to make it as cheap as possible. I never thought it could be possible to see fail stacks going up that high. Just never fathomed a company could be so greedy as to not build in a legitimate failsafe to protect their paying customers from such fraud. Well, that was until I met Valencia, the shittiest horse in all of Black Desert. Valencia is why I quit BDO. While recording my skill change uses on her, she was nothing but trouble. I got so mad, I named the videos things like FU Valencia and Unbelievable Valencia. I even named my wagon Fuck You at one point. The worst part about racking up fail stacks is that you run into a conundrum. You've already spent a lot of money and seen absolutely nothing for it, but in order to try and actually make use of the money you've spent, you have to spend more. I actually considered making a weekly show where I'd try to make skill change attempts on this jerk horse for my audience's amusement. But then I was so damn pissed off at Pearl Abyss for making a system like this where you can literally fall into a deep, dark pit having spent $100 for a courser and not get anything but pissed off. All the confessions I've heard from viewers came flooding back to me. That poor girl who said she had tried to make a courser but got to 46 fail stacks and nothing. It was true, this could happen, and it's unforgivable. If we're being honest, I'd like to see the law go after them for this sort of predatory behavior. If I thought contacting them would work, I would in a second, i.e. give me back my $100, but I know they wouldn't. This wasn't just some accident, this was planned. They were hoping for this. This is freaking gambling, and up until this point I had been lucky. I thought there was an unwritten line that once you hit, you'd get much higher odds of getting the skill that prevented it from ever getting that out of hand, but I was wrong. So here I am with all of these damn horse videos that everybody loves, and I'm happy that they've helped people, I really am, but I also feel like I'm a big jerk because of how many people I feel I've led down the same path that Valencia took me down. $100 in the hole with no courser. And then you have to go through the arduous process of getting the tier 9 when you do that. And given my second courser is at what? 32 attempts now when I gave up? At so much dang money per try? I also spent a lot of money just getting cron stones so I wouldn't have to spend as much in game since it was harder to come by. Ugh. Now granted, nobody forced me to make these choices. Nobody said, hey, buy that costume for $32 so that you can turn it into a couple more tier 9 attempts. But if you've ever gotten caught up in something like this, something that you really want, and that otherwise you're going to have to grind your butt off to get it, eventually it's going to look better and better to you to just spend money out of pocket. This sort of thing, it just disgusts me, really. I'm annoyed I fed into it, and I'm infuriated that Pearl Abyss planned their game like this in the first place. Why the heck should you have to pay at all to participate in the game? Tier 9s are literally pay blocked unless you are so stinking lucky that you just happen to get a tier 8 courser on your own, which has never happened to me, and I've raised so many stinking horses I don't even think it's possible for the typical gamer. Then they raised the price of cron stones. Remember when they were 1 million apiece? Then they bumped the price up and made it so no matter what, you were getting screwed. They literally pushed you into the idea of buying more costumes to make into cron stones by doing this. It was all very deliberate. It just frustrates me. How much money is enough for fracking digital horses? I mean, really. And since I'm airing my grievances, it also really pisses me off that both times I've applied to be a partner with them, they completely ignored me. Not even so much as a no. And imagine how frustrating it is to me that almost my entire audience here on this channel is from people who like BDO. I mean, this was a fun niche for me to fall into. There weren't a lot of videos explaining horse things at the time, and I did a lot of research and put these guides together. But in the end, Valencia, while she seemed like a steaming pile of poop, was really an angel in disguise because she showed me the depths of depravity and greed that Pearl Abyss was capable of, and set me free of my cares for stupid digital horses. The fact that my entire line had died out didn't really help either. There was literally nothing left for me to level. Having spent all of my in-game cash on tier 9 attempts that weren't paying off, having spent all of my real-life cash on skill change tokens that weren't paying off, and spending all of my free game time leveling horses only to have them all be bred out to extinction because I didn't spend real-life money on breed resets. You just hit a point where you realize, me and this game are not good for each other. So that is why I don't play BDO anymore, guys. I want a game where if I pay real-life money, that it's actually going to go towards something. I don't want paywall pits of despair that never end. And let's be realistic, this should have been a part of the game to begin with. It should never have been put behind a paywall. I loved the horse system so much that I was willing to pay without complaint. But when they dropped me into that hole, I had enough. I was done. The irony of this entire story being that I set out to prove you could get a courser reliably for cheap, and actually proved the opposite. I also have to say that for the sake of putting this video together, I updated the game and came back to get the exact amount of fail stacks and whatnot, and to check the inventory of my horses. I got some sort of Shining Adventure box for the Steam 3-year anniversary, and when I opened it, I got 5 skill change coupons. I mean, you can't make that kind of irony up, right? So after I figured out how to make the new UI work, there was this whole thing where my manage skill button wasn't showing at all, and I had to look it up, and eventually found out that I had to reduce the scale of my UI. I mean, because that makes sense to have it set below 100%, and not to think to adjust that. People will just figure that crap out on their own, right? Anyway, I decide I got these free skill change coupons, let's get some more footage of me trying to courser this lemon horse. And what happens? Man, I wish I had been recording my mic at the time because there was some maniacal laughter involved. Valencia. So yeah, that potato is a courser now. Not like it really changes anything, but I thought that a lot of you might find some humor in it. I know I did, albeit sardonic. Also, I know a lot of people will say, why did you do this with S sideways move to a level 30 horse? Well, to be fair, there's always a gray area here. I had been 4-chopping her the whole way, spending tokens, and that was the last one I had not gotten. This is typical though, because it's a hard to learn skill. I usually pick that skill when using skill change tokens as they level because they will usually learn every other courser skill along the way but that one. So you can have your opinion and I can have mine. In the end, if you don't try at all, you're still wasting money. Less money, sure, but there's always going to be a bit of a fight for those special skills in the end. That whole fiasco aside, I've also got to say that one of the other main reasons I played was to make attempts at getting my next tier 9. My cursor, Fernando, is sitting at 31 fail stacks right now, meaning I've tried 32 times. Each try costs a lot of damn money, and at the time when I stopped playing, they were at least abundant to buy, the courser materials. Now after returning, there is nothing on the market. Everything is coming in at a flat 2.5 million per material, an obscene thought when you consider that you need 200 total materials. That means every try is 500 million at least. And honestly, unless pre-orders are doing well for the materials, I imagine that this would be a lot like how it was in the beginning when you had to sit there and snipe mats. Still, think about that. 32 attempts at 500 million a pop. That's 16 billion. I could have just bought a Doom on the market for 12 billion and been done with it. And if only I had the money to do so at the time, right? Working on my own attempts always seemed more affordable, though. You could work on it in chunks instead of having to pay it all up front. The other issue is that I was never able to really get my gear in order to have a set of armor that would keep me from dying in the Kama Sylvia area. So I could never do the dailies and get free mats. It was always kind of counterintuitive to me because in order to get better gear, I'd have to have a ton of money saved up to buy it. But I also needed a ton of money to go for tier 9 attempts. And since I was making videos for that, I figured saving up for the next try was more important. I have okay gear, but not for Kama, that's for sure. I went over there once and just got my butt handed to me. The other thing that sucks with this game is that friends can't even help you out. If you have a friend who wants to trade you their mats because they don't really care much about horse training, they just can't. If someone wants to give you a piece of gear they're not using anymore, they just can't. There were even cases where I wished I could give someone one of my horses, but nope, just can't. I mean, it's stupid, really. It was also very disappointing to me that people don't actually do anything in Endgame beside Node Wars. I mean, maybe things have changed since, but as a life skiller who hadn't experienced much of the Endgame, I thought it sounded really cool that these big, huge, giant monsters were popping up all over the map. It sounded sort of like PSO, where you'd go fight this big, massive boss and get gear drops. I joined a guild at one point, and when talking to them about gearing, I was told to just grind and get money and buy gear. That gear almost never drops off bosses. I mean, what? How is that fun? I just lost so much interest after that, there wasn't much left holding me to the game. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all of it in a long nutshell. I mean, the game just hasn't been really fulfilling for me, let's put it that way. And I just don't really have a big interest in playing it. I mean, every time I come back, it's just, here, buy this crap, here, buy this crap. There's like literally little pop-ups on the screen now when you're just standing around from PA saying, buy my crap. And, way back, I guess I just didn't care as much. I used to just kind of whale it up, but I just care more now. It's such a waste of money. It's such a huge waste of money that amounts to what? Not a whole lot. So yeah, there you go. I would definitely say that if you are looking to try to make a courser, understand that there is definitely a risk involved, and just do it the smartest way you possibly can, And even then, I don't really know if it matters, because if you're going to get bad luck, you're going to get bad luck. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. So I'd say probably the best advice would be to stop and don't just keep going. Like when you've hit the point where you've spent a lot of money and it's just not working, just stop. Or, just don't do it at all. Just buy it. Save up the money and buy it from some other idiot that did it. Some other idiot like me, yeah. Anyways, I hope that clears it up for everyone. And I might actually put a video together and show the last attempts that I did that I never posted or edited together. That's probably going to be it, because, yeah, BDO and I have just lost some love, right? Well, I'll see you guys later.